music just keep going? Previously in X-Men. Cyclops and Storm's training is interrupted by the crash of a spaceship and the revelation that Scott's father is not only alive, but has been living as the space pirate Corsair for all these long years. He's on a dangerous mission connected to the Shi'ar Empire, and his failure could mean the deaths of everyone on Earth. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 66 of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic. As we read Uncanny X-Men 55, or Classic X-Men, or sorry, X-Men Classic 59, cover date of March of 1982. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm good. And point of correction, his father Corsair is not a pirate as much as he is a freebooter.
I agree to disagree. That's all good. We can say what we want to say. He's that brings us to writer Chris Claremont and his love of verbiage and play. He's a verbose writer anyway. But there you go. This is by Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum and Bob Wiacek on inks. No more Joe Rubenstein this issue. I've got my OG copy here that I bought pretty recently, I guess. I can see from the price on it that this was a relatively recent purchase, but I'm really glad to have the original of that one. Mm-hmm. How are you reading this one today, Chris?
The magic of DVD-ROM. This one little black box contains over 500 issues of X-Men comics. If I open this lid, I'll keep it closed. When I open it, they come forth.
I would still like to print some of those. I say that every time. I've also got it here, and I read it here first in the X-Men Essentials Volume 3. But I'm going to stick to the printed comic today because I really do like some of the color choices, and there aren't too many line art choices that make me want to focus on it. It's sort of like the overall page stuff that has my attention today. What's new in your world of comic reading, comic making, etc.?
Well, we got some cool news this week. Group 7 Comics, number 8, the second part of our Peregrine's arc, was nominated for Best Comic Book. Sequential Magazine Awards, 2022 awards. There it is. Yeah, so the awards recognize indie comics in Canada, local creations of comics in Canada, and that one right there, folks, has been nominated for Best Comic Book. You can actually go vote on it. It is a public vote. Links in our bios on all our socials. Group 7 Comics, the number 7. Also, a whole bunch of our friends are nominated as well in various categories. Awesome to see their work championed. I hope people get a chance to check out some really cool creators, some really cool stories through this process, and we'd appreciate your vote too. So that's what just happened this week.
It's pretty exciting stuff.
Pretty exciting stuff.
As well, the Raid Press trading card set by, what's it called? Creator Visions?
Creator Visions.
Raid Press Creator Visions trading card set is fully funded on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. And so our 7 cards in that set and all the cards from the amazing other independent creators involved, like artists at Raid Studios, like Pegamoose Press, like Lethal Comics. Yeah. You're going to have to help me out. Who else is in there? My brain often turns to mush. Other great creators.
There's a few kind of lone agents like Derek Loffman. Well, a few other things like that. So yeah,
check that out. Like I said, it's fully funded, but hop on if you want to get your 100 card set. And there's so many really cool incentives, like foil cards, sketch cards. Like it's outrageous how much is happening there. And I'm really happy that you and I were able to be part of it. So that's also a super cool thing.
It's exciting to be part of something, then have it funded. So to know it's going forward, and
yeah,
we were excited about it to begin with, and now just to kind of be able to see it through is going to be really wonderful. And there's probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 days left or 9 days left or whatever that is in that in the fundraising window. I think it was only 18 days. So there's a whole bunch of stretch goals on there too. So if those get unlocked, then a whole bunch of people, you get a whole access to a whole bunch of cool stuff. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. As well, we've got another new book coming very soon. You were talking to the printers today.
I was talking
yesterday.
Yeah.
About timelines of getting our December 2022 Instagram comic, Peregrine's Hunter's Moon, getting ready for press. That's pretty exciting too, to have that at our upcoming events.
Yeah, it's been funny, like I wouldn't say we've been busy since the start of the new year or the end of last year. We haven't been too busy creative wise, except in December, of course, we did Hunter's Moon. But then January 2023 hit, and all these other pieces of things we like to be involved in, whether it's the card set or the nomination or a whole bunch of have all kind of come, every couple of weeks, there's something else that's kind of popped up on our radar that we're working through or working with or trying to plan out. So it's been a really steady start to the year, which is so much fun for us because, again, when we can have every week, suddenly we're talking to printers, and suddenly we're involved in this thing, and suddenly we're speaking to crowdsourcing over here and getting more of our stories out there. It's been a lot of fun so far in 2023.
Totally. And we got to see each other on Friday.
Yes, we did. You were in this room, this very room.
I was in the Group of 7 Comics, I guess, Western base.
It's the No Homers Club here, the one, loud one.
Nice to be there.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Group of 7 head over to the Dragon.
Yeah, West Coast. It's West Coast Group of 7 Comics.
West Coast.
The team is all different.
It was fun going into the Dragon with you, going into your local comic book store, and one of the best stores I've ever been in by far. Super, super cool to go in there and talk to Amy, the manager there, and get some suggestions as to some gifts for my daughter for her birthday. Which went over very well. So I'm looking forward to stealing her books and reading them because it was very cool.
That's the best part, really, right? I gave my son he just took, so our kids, Jason, your daughter and my son are quite close in age. And so
they're like 2 weeks apart.
Like 2 weeks apart. Yeah. So I also bought him a new Captain America graphic novel by a young adult, the New York Times kind of best-selling young adult writer named Alan Gratz, who he first encountered last year in grade 5. Is that?
No,
that's Michael Cho though cover.
That's a Cho cover, yeah.
That's beautiful.
But this is like Kirby and Lee.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, right from the 60s. It's small.
But it's he bought it and look at that. So I got it for him because it's like his favorite new author. He's been just going through this guy's books, and it's his first time writing a graphic novel, and it's Captain America: The Ghost Army, and it's all Cap and Bucky in World War II.
What?
Yeah, right. So, and there's an actual thing called the Ghost Army, which is an American unit of sound and film technicians who would go and this, historically accurately would actually set up, make sounds, and they'd make fake tanks, and they do all these kinds of things to kind of as a way of
it's mental warfare.
Sewing, right. But then of course in this book they actually come up against an actual ghost army. But as soon as I read the back, I'm like, I just want to give this to you now, so then I can then take it back and read it. So read the comic, and then I can read the comic.
Is it a smaller size?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's put out by Scholastic Graphics.
Right. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It is. The art looks great. I forget who the artist is, but very much again, Cap, Bucky, and World War II adventure. It's just
yeah. I'll see if they have it at my local, and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a really nice for this show, for the previous X-Men show. We've had a couple really nice donors providing some content, some books for the channel. Other than people like Julian, who've given us that Dave Cockrum biography of the art and life. This one, there are some X-Men comics that have have come my way via a friend of the channel, and it's so cool to now have like 10 more issues that are part of this run that I didn't previously have that were gifted for the purposes of sharing with the world. So it's very neat. So if anyone out there wants us to have their X-Men comics for us to share on this platform, we are open to that. Just send us a message and we'll make it work. Luckily, of the next 150 issues, I probably have about 100, which is maybe a little more. So it's we're in good shape. Definitely come issue 200, we're locked in. But we also have some other fun stuff on the horizon that is not from this series. Just to put it back in context, at this moment in 1982, in March, X-Men is the top-selling book over at Marvel, and Chris Claremont has cemented himself over the last 7 years as being a top-tier writer in mainstream American comics. So much so that he's been greenlit to write a second series, which will be called, when it comes out shortly in 1983, or later in 82. It's called The New Mutants, and I'll get to that title in a second, which might seem like it's nothing, but it is something. And of course, a Wolverine limited series is greenlit, and what might be why Rubenstein's not on this issue. He might be working on the Wolverine limited series. There's a X-Men graphic novel coming. So there are a lot of projects that are happening. The X-verse is expanding, where at one point, 7 years before this, it couldn't even sustain a monthly book. They were in reprints, and then they were bi-monthly, and now it's like we need multiple X-Men things out all the time. And Claremont is him and Louise Jones, who later we know Louise Simonson. They're the ones kind of controlling the X narrative. And it's so interesting as it gets even more successful. It starts to ripple out beyond their grasp. And then, of course, it implodes. Creatively, it implodes. Financially, it explodes.
Right.
And, a lot of people love all different spectrums on the X-Men output. Whether it's more visually dynamic and there's not much story, or whether it's less visually dynamic and more story. There's something there for everybody, and that's one of the reasons it's such a successful and dynamic franchise and vibrant, is because it has such a wide appeal. But I wanted to mention, I can't remember if you know about the title of the New Mutants and sort of where that name comes from.
I don't know.
Well, the X-Men wasn't the original idea for the title of this series. It was originally going to be called The Mutants.
The Mutants.
Yes, because they are mutants.
I mean, I understand that.
I mean, what's an X-Man, right? So they pitched to the publisher the series called The Mutants, and he's like, no. That's people don't want to. They don't want to read a comic book called The Freaks. Like, they don't want to read that.
Right.
And so they Stanley had to rethink, and he's like, oh, Professor X, X-Men sounds interesting and curious, and that was enough to go on.
So in the 60s is when the X-Men show up.
Yeah,
so
63.
Right. So it also speaks a bit to that kind of spy X-Men kind of,
sure,
world of espionage and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and adult films and oh no, that's not different kind of X.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah, so that's why the New Mutants is a kind of an apt title. But they were just going to do a second book in there, and it's Claremont who figures out, Claremont and Louise Simonson, who decide that it's going to be like the younger class, and the books are going to somehow go together. But I imagine that they must have juggled a few different concepts around, like splitting it into teams or who knows what.
To be fair, I mean, I've not read, just as viewers know, that I have not read any of these comics before.
You've never read a book in your life.
I've never read a book in my life. But I've also never read any New Mutants. And so, it's always been there on the periphery of my understanding of the X-verse, right? And then I saw the movie and I thought, okay. And then, but I'm like, I want to read it. Like,
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like doing this run and just now we're at this point, 1982, where just what you were saying in your intro, that it's starting to branch off, right? The universe is growing, right? And, so now I'm like really putting myself chronologically in this series in 1982, and I'm an avid reader every month for the last 7 years. I wanted a new book called The New Mutants. I'm like, what's that about? Right? Like, it's an exciting proposition.
Yeah, it is neat. The movie is actually based on, I believe, a three-part like chapter, in the New Mutants lore by, of course, Chris Claremont, and I don't even know what to call this guy, virtuosic illustrator Bill Sienkiewicz, who was sort of at the height of experimentation at that point in Marvel, for sure, where he was offered the X-Men and he wouldn't come onto the title. He says now, looking back at it, that the X-Men was their top book, and he didn't want to burn it to the ground by experimenting too far and like losing all their readers. And when it was a chance, then later Chris comes back to him and says, like, I'm doing a nightmare few issues. Would you come on for that? And he's like, okay, that's abstract enough. I can stretch form. I can abstract the characters and play with media enough that it suits the content there. So he jumped on board, and it's, maybe the best New Mutants arc ever from some people's points of view. Sienkiewicz is a lot of people's favorite artist of all time, and whenever he touches a character, they become uniquely his own.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah, his stuff is unreal to look at. It's surreal and gorgeous, and he just does things differently than everybody else does. So hopefully we will cross paths with some Sienkiewicz art in the near future within X-Men. But we will see what we can do with some New Mutants down the road too.
Well, and especially that the New Mutants, is rebranded as X-Force, and then what comes
100 issues later,
and then what comes out of that, and then we like map that onto, from a pop culture perspective, what we're seeing now, right? Like it's that there's like that lineage, which is, it's kind of fascinating to check out.
Right. So in Deadpool 2, right, he makes a team and he calls them X-Force.
Yeah.
And it's led by Cable, which is what X-Force was originally. And, Deadpool's there, and then some supporting characters. And
what's that guy's name? Dave? Or who's like the house husband? It's played by like a Greg, or I forget who plays him, but right? You know what I'm talking about, right? He's like, yeah, you're on the team.
Like Daryl. Either way, they all have these names,
It's really excited to be here.
I have his book of like his comedy book downstairs on my bookshelf. He's a funny guy. That was a great scene. Delaney.
Is it Rob Delaney? Might be Rob Delaney.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a fun.
Totally unexpected. And for Deadpool 3, like, who knows what we're going to see? X-Force is going to come back. Pete.
Thank you, Jason Lowe. Rob Delaney as Pete.
I like when you make an entrance, Jason. It's always a lot of fun. To me, my ex-friends, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good week. And hey, Jason, of the New Mutants that you've read, do you have a favorite arc, favorite storyline, favorite character, favorite artist? Any of those kinds of things for New Mutants? We're not going too far into that today, but I'm just interested to hear what your take is. Given that you do love a lot of the characters that are just to the left and the right of my view, I'm still very much in this, John Byrne mold of the X-Men, and you are in a wider orbit than me, which is really cool. People thought he was Pete Wisdom. So Pete Wisdom is a character that I don't know. And people think a lot of things. So maybe he was Pete Wisdom, but who is Pete Wisdom? I'm interested in. New Mutants Annual 1 is a solid single issue. I do not have that. Or do I have that? Whichever the one. I have the New Mutants Special. The one when they go to Asgard. With Art Adams on art. So I've got that one.
I can tell you who Pete Wisdom is.
Please.
As I Googled it. Pete Wisdom is oh man, this is I didn't want this. This is too much. Just give me the he works for MI13. He's kind of like a spy New Scotland Yard. What am I looking at here? He became involved with Excalibur. He had a relationship with Shadowcat.
Oh.
And then on X-Force, he was on, after his romance with Kitty, he created an independent espionage network to police global intelligence community's treatment of mutants.
Okay.
So
cool.
Does he...
David says, who was mistaken for Pete Wisdom? Here. Rob Delaney as Pete in Deadpool 2. People were saying it's Pete Wisdom. It doesn't sound like he's Pete Wisdom, but it's just the name Pete, you know?
And he's a mutant. He's a mutant.
Right, but...
A government agent. But
Pete in the movie was none of those things.
No, which is why it was, much played for laughs, right?
Definitely.
Played for laughs.
Definitely.
Go home, Pete. But X-Force. No.
David, I hope you're well. Hope you're having a good week so far, and welcome. And thanks for joining us on the live stream here. And Anthony, hello, how are you? Good evening, gentlemen. I'm in the mood for some brew. Well, then have I got a show for you.
That's the name of my 1980s rock album.
So it was speculation before the film came out that he was playing that he was playing that character. Pete Wisdom. But alas. Okay. So look at this. Boom. We've got some Dave Cockrum on cover duties there.
Sure do.
With the classic comic book trope of a character is dead. If that bold black blood coming out of Pete's chest, he's dead. Do you believe he's dead?
Well, sure. That's how comics work, right?
Yeah, that is how comics work. I like how the sky is green. Like there's been a toxic explosion. It's like this is not an environment you want to be in. Whether it was a creative choice or just a color choice to go against everything else that's there, it really works. I like it on the green, and need to see Cockrum put Wolverine, kind of front and center.
That's a rare thing. It's a rare thing for Cockrum. And you get a new character in the background. You get Tigra, right? I mean, if you didn't know who that was,
right?
Reason, you'd show up and be like, "Who's that person?"
I have questions about that, but we'll get there. And just one quick comment about the rubble. Different artists have their different strengths, and rubble is one that is not. It's not a common strength in cartoonists of this time period. I think a lot of them are making it up as they go along. We see a lot of beams here and maybe a couple bricks, but not a lot of detail. And I think about other artists like Byrne could do some good rubble, or at least fake it. Kirby could definitely fake some rubble. And you get then guys like the generation later, like the Art Adams, and the rubble is out of control good, or Michael Golden. In that issue we read, the Avengers Annual 10, the rubble in that issue was like unbelievable when they're fighting Avalanche and the Blob. Like there were tidal waves of rubble going. So it's neat to see how different people handle it, and I find this to be a pretty uninspired amount of rubble. It was almost like an afterthought. Anyway, so be it. David says, I copy Byrne's rubble all the time.
All the time.
Makes sense. Good choice. Jason says, pick up Tigra's Marvel Legends figure for under 20 while Toys R Us has them. I should have brought that figure upstairs. What a phenomenal action figure that is, by the way. It was well worth the money to buy Tigra, and she's an important member of my collection for me, because she was on my 80s Avengers and my West Coast Avengers as a youngster. So it's a very good looking figure. Very bright orange though, like very bright orange.
Yeah.
The only issue with Byrne Rubble is it tends to all slope to the right. But I badly copy it anyway. That's funny that it slopes to the right, maybe for the reading of the page, right? Like moving everything along so that the page flows properly. That's interesting. Those are both interesting points. What were you going to say there, buddy?
Well, of course, this cover has an interesting corner box. So that was where I was going to go next.
Yeah, we've gotten past all the heads. And we've been seeing the floating head corner box styles that Jack Kirby, I think he's the one who first did that, maybe. But when it comes to the X-Men, yeah, Byrne had been doing the little heads in the side there, and I love those, obviously. And this is an exciting one, if not a very busy one. Also, I talk about these issues of X-Men as being kind of chapters, and this might be one of the things that helps signify a chapter, maybe starting last issue. Even though the corner box didn't start last issue, it feels like it's maybe part of something. But I'm so inspired by this particular corner box that I've been generating. I want to make something when I see this. So we'll see what's on my drawing board, and we'll figure it out.
It does feel, that with a chapter or start of chapter, or around that feeling. Because I will say that, and as we get into the issue, we'll talk a bit more about it. But this particular kind of arc of what's happening with Corsair feels, I think, for the first time since the last, at least for me anyway, since the Byrne Claremont run ended, where we're getting something with a bit of a story arc that seems to be going somewhere,
right,
continuously. Because again, and I mean, the Tigra is a bit of a, as we've said before, it's kind of a villain hero of the week throw in to the X-Men comics the last year or so, of the month, I should say. And so, although her presence is here, it does feel like with the Corsair and the Shi'ar, we're going somewhere, which is we're going on a journey again, which I think is nice. It was very stop start before this. So
I agree with you. So I did my research, try to find any explanation as to why Tigra was there, and every comment or article I came across was saying that there was no known explanation as to why she was included. Maybe it was just Claremont just wanted to play with Tigra.
Sure.
He had written her before in another series, and was kind of maybe just wanted another character as a foil. And I'm thinking about, and this is completely from outer space, or I should say from the depths. This is not based on anything that I've researched or found or heard. I wonder if they had started, mapping out the issue months back, and maybe there was just a role for another woman to be in these scenes, another X character, and it was going to be that aquatic female character that they meet on Magneto's island, and then when Cockrum decides not to include her, maybe there just was a spot for a character.
Yeah, maybe.
And they're like, hey, can we have another character here to banter back, have it just another back and forth with Wolverine at one point, as we're going to see, and a couple of those kinds of things. So they just decided on, no, let's think of an established New Yorker and go with Tigra. That's just my fun thought, but that's not.
By the way,
sound.
I think the Wolverine banter in this issue is primo, spot on. It is, I think, the most enjoyable Wolverine I've been able in a long time.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. So why don't we get into it then?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Is everybody ready?
You should be.
Here
we go. First blood. It's a terrible thing to have your life suddenly turned upside down, to see all the precepts and beliefs upon which you've based that life trashed and thrown away in a moment of time. A few short words. For 20 years, Scott Summers, member of a team of mutant superheroes known as the X-Men, has believed himself to be an orphan without family, save his younger brother, Alex. Without roots, without a past, he long ago resigned himself to that grim, lonely reality. Now that reality has been destroyed by a simple, devastating revelation. Scott's father lives! He is Corsair, leader of the Starjammers, a band of interstellar freebooters. And he has returned to Earth to seek his son's help. Woo! The reunion has not thus been pleasant. The reunion has not thus far been pleasant. How about you? Do you want to be Scott this issue, or what do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I can be Scott this issue.
All right. Scott, I know something of how you feel.
Do you, Storm?
I, too, am an orphan, remember?
I thought you were my friend.
And then Corsair is just like over their shoulders.
Yeah, he's a real heavy mouth breather.
Yeah, David says that, yeah, it's lots of Kirby in those faces, for sure. For sure. I wonder if that's Wiacek, too, like on Inks, if he's bringing that out more so. And are you still an orphan in your 20s? Not for me to say. I don't know, man. At least, that's what Claremont is going for, but maybe these characters are forever impacted by that. I do not know. So, he's challenging her. You are my friend? You sure? I thought you were my friend. I am.
A friend doesn't betray a trust or lie. You knew Corsair was my father. You've known for months, ever since the X-Men first met him. Yet you never told me.
As I said, oh, you got it. As you said, a friend does not betray her trust. I promised Jean I would not reveal the truth to you.
Why didn't she tell me? We loved each other, or so I thought. Yet she kept that secret. Even when our minds were linked en rapport. Why?
Because I asked her to. I've been away from Earth too long. I had no intention of going back. And since you'd obviously forgotten me, Scott, I thought it better not to reveal myself as a father you'd seen once, briefly, and probably never again. I thought only to spare your pain.
Did you? Are you sure you weren't motivated by guilt and shame at coming face to face with the children you deserted?
That's unfair, Scott. Your mother and I didn't leave you by choice. We were kidnapped by the Shi'ar.
20 years ago. And in those 2 decades, did you even try to learn what happened to Alex and me?
We thought we knew. When our plane was attacked, Anne strapped you two into a parachute and shoved you out the escape hatch. We saw the canopy catch fire. We thought you were both killed in the fall. Later, Anne, your mother, was executed before my eyes, and I was sold into slavery. I didn't come home because I felt I had nothing to come home to. Is grief a crime, Scott? Is ignorance? If so, I stand convicted. Does that satisfy you?
It isn't that simple, mister, or that easy. I spent 10 years in a state orphanage that was little better than a prison, praying, hoping against hope that one day my parents would arrive to sweep me out of there. I tried to remember the kind of man you were, tried to become a son you could be proud of. And what do I find? My dad's a pirate, as ruthless and cold-blooded as the villains the X-Men fight.
Cyclops, Corsair, look! The Blackbird is glowing! It's a transporter beam. The Shi'ar have found me. Okay, I just pause there for a minute. I think these 2 pages as a spread, they look really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the color spread, like just, where color is placed around, there's lots of nice things. Cockrum is playing with storytelling, like a close-up, exterior shot, like back and forth. There's just some serious drama and lots to unload from Claremont with these characters and their pathos. I'm really digging it.
This is also a really great exchange. Like I think these first couple pages between all 3 of them, this is really wonderful. Like a really great scene.
I think so too. We've needed this.
We have, yeah.
For a long time, we've needed this. And now I'm really excited for that Corsair action figure, so I can reenact father and son squabbles. Yeah, it's I'm really happy with this little bit. An instant later, 40,000 kilometers above the Earth, on the transporter deck of a Shi'ar dreadnought. I think this is Corsair talking, yeah?
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm flattered. Our reception committee consists of armored combat troopers and members of the Imperial Guard. They're taking no chances. Suddenly...
By the White Wolf.
What in the flamin'?
Backstroke. Hey, where's the ocean? Where am I?
Professor Xavier and the rest of the X-Men, including Kitty. They've been taken too. Colossus transforms his body from flesh and blood to organic steel. Highly unnecessary. So I looked really closely at the really fine line art in the the photostat reproductions in the essentials, and there are no real inside jokes in these little characters. They're really well done, like Where's Waldo style. Like there's a lot in there, but there isn't like a bunch of Star Wars characters or whatnot. They're actually supposed to be characters that we can identify for the most part. But it's kind of nice to see it's not just a little blur of things that represent bodies. They're pretty well rendered actually, and it translates nicely. Anyway, neat. While Wolverine extends his razor-keen adamantium claws from housings built into his forearms. Colossus, Nightcrawler, cover Charlie and the kid. No, Wolverine. Sheathe your claws. My telepathic abilities reveal that we are no immediate danger.
Herr Professor, see who's with Cyclops and Storm.
I've never sensed such turmoil in Scott's thoughts. And no wonder. Corsair is his father.
I'm glad to see you, Professor, although I wish it could be under better circumstances.
Greetings, X-Men. In the name of the Shi'ar, I, Gladiator, Praetor of the Imperial Guard, bid you welcome.
Lord Chancellor Araki, who are these barbarians that Gladiator addresses with such respect?
Had you scanned the briefing tapes I provided, Admiral, you would know. These X-Men are a band of mutants, humans born with enhanced physical and or mental abilities, gathered together by their teacher, Professor Charles Xavier. Though feared and hated by many of their fellow Terrans, they are a force for justice on their world. Remain calm, X-Men. I know there is no love lost between us and the Shi'ar, but we will not fight unless provoked. Right now, Charlie, I'm feeling real provoked.
See what I mean? Like, he gets some really good lines. That's the first of many.
Yeah.
He gets some really good lines in this.
For sure. That top left panel where Wolverine pops his claws.
Yeah.
Some nice long claws, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like Cockrum is, has paced out for Xavier to say something in that panel, not Wolverine. Like he's left space at the top for maybe, one dialogue balloon.
Right.
But because Claremont can't help but say like Wolverine needs a line here, even though his mouth could just be, gritting his teeth. There isn't room for both Wolverine, the narrator, and Xavier. So Xavier's word balloon has to like spill over into the next panel. But I feel like that's Claremont not being in tune with his with his artist, or vice versa.
Right.
Cockrum not being in tune with his writer. Like leave a little more room up top for those balloons up there. This is a pretty awkward way to do it. Yeah, but very cool.
Very cool.
Control yourself, Wolverine. That is an order. Araki, what is the meaning of this? Why are we here? I demand an immediate audience with Empress Lilandra. That is not possible, Xavier. If you would learn the reason why, follow me.
Shortly, in a nearby briefing room. The images in this hologram field confirm the story Corsair told me and Scott. See last issue.
Lilandra, my beloved.
Wow.
Too many of my characters in a row.
At the last meeting of her Grand Council, Lilandra was abducted by terrorists and many of her ministers were slaughtered. Is she dead? No, she can't be. Otherwise, I'd have sensed it through the rapport we share. Who is responsible for this outrage, Araki? Why did they do it? Where have they taken her? Who cares? This is a Shi'ar problem, Charlie. It's none of our concern. Wrong, Wolverine. It is very much...
Oh, who do you think is talking?
I think it's Charles.
No, it can't be because he calls it your world. So he's not, this person can't be from Earth. Let it be the Admiral, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Wrong, Wolverine. It is very much your concern. The trail leads to Earth. The evidence implicates inhabitants on your world.
Are you serious? We can barely fly to the flaming moon, bub. You clowns live in another galaxy.
Suppose Alandra is here. What do you propose to do about it?
Liberate her if she is alive. Avenge her if she is not. Corsair is one of the conspirators. He will be punished for his treason. We will use Xavier's psychic bond with the Empress to enable us to locate her. Then we will send a force of Imperial Guard and combat troopers to effect her release. No! I am Shivarnan Halanau, the Imperial Consort. I do it with the Empress. There's
Through
holograms,
mind
you know.
touching. What's that?
I forbid that course of action. It would certainly result in Landra's death and the destruction of lives and property on Earth as well.
Ever the capitalist. Of lives and also property. Very valuable property. You are barbarians, lacking even a rudimentary world government. Your lives, your puny planet, mean nothing to the Shia.
Do you defy my lawful command, Admiral? You are a consort, Xavier, Lalandra's chosen life mate. Your order will be obeyed to a point.
Look at that.
I
hat.
will withhold Imperial action for one rotation of your world about its planetary axis to allow your X-Men an opportunity to rescue the Empress. After that, however, I shall take whatever action I and Admiral Lord Samadar deem appropriate. As a guarantee of your good faith, I require 2 of your students to I require 2 of your students to remain here as hostages. Do you doubt my word, Araki, or my love for Lalandra? These are dangerous times, Xavier. I doubt everything and everyone. Cyclops, I'd appreciate your suggestions in this matter. And yours also, Storm, of course. I'm team leader now, yet Professor asked Scott first. As Scott said, old habits die hard. The conference is brief, the decision reluctantly unanimous.
I'm scared, Professor. Back up, Katsin. I'll protect you.
There's no need to worry, Kitty. I must act quickly, under cover of our farewell embrace, to forge a mind link with Kitty.
Oh, Katya.
To fill her brain with all my knowledge of the Shi'ar. Forgive me, child. I know this sudden unexpected influx of data seems overwhelming, but it may save our lives and our world. She is all right, X-Men. She merely fainted. I have set you and Kitty an impossible task, Nightcrawler. So much depends on your skill, your intelligence, your courage.
You may count on us, Professor. Auf Wiedersehen, mein Franz. Lord grant we meet again.
Okay, I really like that. Not the shoving stuff into her brain, but yeah, pretty much. I love them using their powers in sort of covert or clandestine ways.
Right.
And there's a plan for Nightcrawler. There's a plan for Kitty, and the reader is not up with it. Like, we don't know what they're going to do. But man, you got a character who can teleport and a character who can phase through walls.
That's
And
right.
Nightcrawler's just proven himself time and time again. He's crafty. Kitty, gives the usual like freak out at the beginning, but she adjusts.
Mhm.
Like, if they got to leave 2 behind, I love this. And hopefully they're going to show up later down the road in a way that I don't expect, because I don't know where this is going. And I'm totally into this idea. Really
Yeah.
fun.
No, it works with the pacing. It works with moving the story along. But again, as we look at that top panel, what is going on with that guy's hat? Or headpiece?
I think that is supposed to be something in the background.
Is it? Because I thought I
So-
saw on a different page that it's not.
Oh, really? Hold on. I've been so busy looking at the word balloons. Oh, I now think it's something that floats above him. Okay, go. Do you mind
Yeah.
going back? Go back a page. See in panel. Okay, on the page on the right,
Yeah.
bottom left panel.
Mm-hmm.
It is not on him.
No, it's not on him, but it's around him.
And then the next panel, it's on him.
It's like a what are those like little aliens from Futurama that stick on people's heads and turn their minds to goo?
It's like a pilot fish.
It's like a pilot fish, exactly.
Yeah. So
Makes
it's swimming, or another bird that goes on the hippopotamus's back and picks stuff off.
So weird.
Very cool. I'm into all this, lots of
Cosmic
fun stuff.
here.
I probably would have just colored it differently in that panel to give it a little bit of distance, like maybe lighten the blue to make it look like it's not as close to the camera as Araki is. But there you go. Just for anyone who hasn't read the previous issue, why is Professor X in this kind of outfit? Simply because he and the crew of X-Men that he was with were in the Bermuda Triangle refitting Magneto's abandoned island that Magneto raised from the Atlantic Ocean floor. They're repurposing it to be a new location, a new base, as more and more problems keep popping up at their mansion. They want to kind of get some distance to protect everybody. So Xavier is dressed for the tropics. Let's put it that way.
Sure is.
And as someone who does not have much hair on his head, us bald guys got to wear a hat. we burn easy. Anyway, the transporter deposits the X-Men amidst the ruins of Xavier's school. And though he hides his feelings well, the sight does indeed break Xavier's heart. From there, it's a relatively quick drive to a mansion on the New York City's ultra-chic Fifth Avenue, known and famed throughout the world as headquarters of Earth's mightiest team of superheroes, the Avengers. The threat facing humanity is too grave and time too short for the X-Men to handle it by themselves. They need all the help they can get. Regrettably, only one Avenger, their newest member, Tigra, the Werewoman, and their butler, Jarvis, are in residence. The rest of the team is away on various missions. A telephone call to the Baxter Building gets a recorded message that the Fantastic Four are likewise unavailable. Any comment on that, Chris?
I love how it's just like, we need help. No one's around.
Sure.
But I think the other thing, though, I think it speaks to is how, and we get a little bit of this with, as we'll see later with the Tigra, a bit of how she plays a bit, language and things as she's in her combat. But like, the X-Men are just such a different group. Like, they're just, and I kind of like that. If you weren't quite up, or didn't have too much experience reading, Marvel team comics, which I don't have a lot of, truthfully. When you think of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, they're constantly, they have a mansion, everyone knows where it is, and they have a building where everybody knows where it is. And the X-Men are true outcasts. They're just the kind of persona non grata. Like, you know what I mean? Like, persona non grata with not only like the military and mutant haters and governments, but also their own allies amongst the superhero community.
Sure.
Which lends it a level of interest that I don't have with the other teams.
I love the idea that they walked up and knocked on the door.
Yeah.
Hey, Jarvis, can you let us in? So for anyone out there who has not really read much comics, but has obviously seen the MCU films, Jarvis as Tony Stark's AI that he has, in his Iron Man suits. And then if you dig a little deeper into the MCU, if you watch, let's say, the Peggy Carter show, you learn that Jarvis is the butler of Stark's father, Howard Stark, and that Tony kind of programs the voice of Jarvis mostly after, in an homage to his, I guess, his childhood butler. And this house would have been a Stark house in New York.
Right.
So he donates it to the Avengers.
Right.
anyway, so Jarvis is
But
a
it's
real
just-
character.
They're so, and that's what I think they do. They do a really good job of it in the MCU films of this, the public nature of these superheroes.
Right.
While the X-Men, and that's something to come in the MCU, and we are all curious about how it's going to happen, is they are, you don't know they exist.
Right.
Right.
I wonder if they've been
Yeah.
there the whole time. Like, that's such a fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
It really was an interesting thing to struggle with. You know, if you're formatting the Marvel Cinematic Universe and like the first characters that come, Iron Man just reveals, spoiler alert, at the end of the first film, he's like, "Yeah, I am Iron Man."
Yeah.
And Secret Identity, it just doesn't work in 2008 anymore.
No.
And Steve Rogers, Public Identity, Thor, obviously, he's somewhat publicly seen the other kind of comedic scenes. Everyone kind of seems to know who he is, like a celebrity. Bruce Banner, Public Identity, everyone knows that there's something wrong with this guy and that he's a monster. There are so many of those kinds of things where you can't really hide anymore,
Yeah.
So it's the Secret Identity is this sort of throwback to the pulps, to Zorro, and then of course through Superman and Batman, Robin Hood. It's a tried and true tradition, but it doesn't really work in the information age. Jason says there's a Wolverine reference in She-Hulk. So, right, but is it a Wolverine reference in the way that it's the only way to interpret it, or is it also just a passing line? Like,
do you know the references?
Oh man, I watched the show, probably watched every episode, maybe even twice, but it wasn't something that stuck in my mind.
Jason tells what the references.
Sure. I imagine though, like the line that they make in She-Hulk, that the writers of whatever Wolverine is going to appear in down the road, they're not beholden to that line.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anyway, but I'm interested to hear what Jason reminds us of, because I'm sure you and I heard that line of dialogue when it happened on the show.
Did you say something like, "I have a client who's the best at what he does"?
Yeah, maybe. I was okay. Since we're talking, a headline of a man with claws in a bar fight, right?
Oh, I don't remember that one. Okay,
so for us, that is a good. It is inferring, or it implies Wolverine, and we infer Wolverine properly from that. But you could
be Sabretooth.
Right, could be the owl. You can pivot if you needed to, but it doesn't mean that we're gonna get a specific thing down the road. But one quick Wolverine thing. So we've had Wolverine in this comic book now for 60 issues, roughly, and there is no talk that he has gaps in his memory. That is not part of the character yet. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, we've never talked about this. We've gotten things about his Canadian heritage. We've gotten parts about him liking Japan. We've gotten parts about his mutant powers sort of, becoming out there bit by bit. Where his healing factor gets discussed, and the fact it's a skeleton and the claws are under his skin. Like, those parts have come out bit by bit. But there's never been a part where it's been, and I don't remember my life before this point in time. He's not a man without a past. He's very much a man with a past at this point in Wolverine's development as a character. And I'm interested to see when we finally get this, I guess those reveals, when Claremont, probably is the one to do it, starts to talk about the fact that there are these gaps before he kind of has continuity in his life, and he doesn't know anything before he is turned into Weapon X. Like, maybe he doesn't know before that. When does that happen? And I'm looking forward to that. There you go. David says that was a reference to the Scoutmaster. He isn't afraid to use his nails.
Go get him, Scouts.
Jason says She-Hulk breaks the fourth wall and asks for an X-Men movie.
That is true. Yes, there is that.
So it's not just an implication.
There is that one.
It's blatant. There you go.
Don't be afraid to use the nails, boys.
I love that Wolverine is in Avengers Mansion. Just again, I think that's
I love
just so
that, and that's a
cool.
great shot of him sitting there, relaxed with his feet. His I don't know.
And he probably is drinking a beer. It doesn't. It's really unclear in the
Yeah,
printed thing, and I'm not going to open up the other one, but it's just a generic can. But I'm going to assume it's beer. We're on our own. So what else is new? We've been in this dump for flaming hours, waiting, sitting on our duffs, doing nothing. What the blades is Charlie playing at? We ain't got time to waste.
at least we're on Earth, Tovarish, and among friends. Think of Katya, Nightcrawler, trapped aboard an alien spaceship. Cheer up, bunkies. No sense letting doom and gloom rule the day. Wow!
Back off, cat lady. I ain't in the mood.
Again, it's just the bot. You just see his eyes. It's a great. They're really having a lot of fun with him today in this issue.
Yeah.
And I don't scare easy. You want to match your claws against mine, pipsqueak?
Eager to lose all 9 lives at once, sweetheart?
Hey, Wolverine, Tigra, stop this. I also love how introduced new hero Wolverine has to fight them every single time.
Yeah, he's gonna gut her in Avengers
Hey,
Mansion.
lady, you want to lose all your 9 lives at once? Like it's good. It's very fun.
Yeah. So silly.
I don't believe this. Kitty behaves more like an adult than a lot of you put together. Tea and sandwiches, sir. Are you certain you won't rest, Professor? If you'll pardon my saying so, you don't look well.
I would love to rest, Jarvis. And to be honest, I feel wretched. But I'll survive, thank you. What happened, Charlie? Wolverine. I really do hate that name. If you must be familiar, please call me Charles, or better yet, Professor. I tried to establish telepathic contact with Lilandra. I was anticipated. Our foes rigged a psionic ambush. I barely managed to escape. But I established a rough fix on Lilandra's location. She is very close, somewhere in New York, perhaps even Manhattan. When I am rested, I shall make another attempt to reach her. By the way, where's Corsair? I have some questions for him. I mark his scent, Charlie, but it's real faint. He isn't in the house. Neither is Storm. They're both gone, but if it's that urgent, I can track him no sweat.
Wolverine, don't call me Charlie. No problem, Charlie.
The last time they did this was in the ones with Alpha Flight, and I guess it was a 139. And he's like, "Don't call me Charlie." He's like, "Sure thing, Chuck."
Yeah.
He just, and then like Xavier's got a swear word like grumble line above his head, like, "Oh, this fucking Canadian," you know.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Too funny. At that moment, in an observation blister. What's an observation blister?
Hey, hope it isn't.
Well, I guess I do know what it is. It'd be like a bubble on the outside of the ship where you can... I get it. I shouldn't have asked. At that moment, in an observation blister aboard the Shi'ar flagship, is that a term people use, though, for like boats and stuff? When there's a bubble that sticks out where people can look?
No.
That's just a spaceship word? Chris, when you were in space, the ship that you were on, okay. The youngest X-Men beholds a sight that only a handful of her countrymen, indeed a handful of her fellow human beings, have been privileged to witness. A sunrise from space.
Oh my. It is beautiful. Nicht wahr? I've seen pictures in books, on TV, and movies, but the beauty is so majestic, so beautiful. Or the reality is so majestic, so beautiful. It takes my breath away, Kurt, and leaves me tongue-tied. As tongue-tied as Peter. We can't let the Shi'ar, we can't let anyone destroy the Earth. We can't. We won't, Kitty. You have my word. Ach, you're shivering, child. Why are you still wearing your bathing suit? Even in the controlled environment of the starship, you must be chilly. I am a bit, but I've been too excited and scared up till now to notice. Didn't anyone provide a change of clothes? They did better than that. Get a load of this gizmo I discovered. What does it do? It makes clothes. Any style I program in a perfect fit. Most impressive. Complete with makeup and hairstyle from the ridiculous, fascinating, to the sublime, Kitty. I'm pleased to see you're taking our imprisonment so well. So are our jailers. I'm nothing to fear, right? A kid playing with her new toy. But under the cover of my plane, I've been using the knowledge Professor X punched into my skull to tap into the ship's primary computer. With that on our side, plus your ability to teleport and mind a phase through walls, we'll be able to go anywhere in this tub and do anything.
Quick note, the costume change. Okay, of course, at this point, Marvel has the license for Star Wars. So that is not a big deal, but it's fun. And the second picture is one of Cockrum's earlier designs for Phoenix.
I wondered. They did have a Phoenix on the chest, and I wondered if
yes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. He's just playing. Yeah,
cool.
another allusion to Phoenix. They keep bringing it back, even though she's gone. It's ever present in these comics.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And you can tell the way that I use my walk. You ready?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say I am glad they actually pointed. They're like, why are you still in a bathing suit?
Yes. No. I'm talking about the next page.
I know.
Okay.
About
Not
the way you will.
like, come on. This is just such a great, him walking around in that outfit and her walking around in that outfit. Everyone's head is turning. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah.
It's silly stuff. I'm surprised there isn't even a narrator transition at all. Just going right into it.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right into it. Yeah.
It's so different, Aurora. So much bigger, more crowded. The last time I visited New York, none of these buildings existed. The entire face of the city, of the country, of the world has changed almost beyond belief. And yet, it all seems so primitive to me. I've seen so much. I've been so far, seen so much. My world isn't mine anymore. I've heard similar sentiments from Colossus. Because of his experiences as an X-Man, Peter fears he has lost forever the simple farmer's life he once enjoyed. In his heart, he knows he can never truly return to that. He cannot exchange what he has, what he is, for what he once was. None of us can. Scott was right. I should have tried to come back. But when Anne died, I died. How do I explain a loss like that? And what it does to a man? He would understand. No, to understand, you have to live through it. Precisely. He was in love with Jean Grey, Phoenix. I didn't see her among the other X-Men. She is dead, Christopher. Oh, my poor boy. They were so happy, so right together. How did it happen? Well, to see that, go read X-Men.
Yeah.
Go read the Dark Phoenix saga. And I can't help but think that this is Dave Cockrum in the background looking at them. When they had Dave Cockrum drawn into previous issues earlier in the run, this is what he looked like. And so, once more, the story of Dark Phoenix is told. Meanwhile, on a construction site across Madison Avenue...
Target in sight, milady. At your command, Corsair dies. And the Terran Wind Rider with him. They appear to be prime specimens, fit perhaps for the mother of us all herself. Destroy them seems such a waste.
They are dangerous. Skirkle.
Skirkle? Like Urkel, but no.
Given half a chance, they may well destroy us all. They might even prove a match for your precious mother.
Have a care, renegade. Though we are allies, though I have sworn to serve you, we of the Brood will not tolerate no disrespect.
I have fought them. You have not. If I, the finest warrior ever born to the Ari, respect them, you should fear them.
The proof is nothing.
The sigh scream is fired, and in mid-step, mid-sentence, mid-thought, reality shatters around Corsair and Storm. Whoa! One quick thing. It looks like it says brood the first time, but it actually says blood.
Blood. Yeah. Give blood.
It works, though.
It does. It does.
I like that blue sky.
Yeah, it looks nice. Looks nice. These guns look just wacky. The things,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
All the different, just wacky.
Anthony makes a great point here. John Travolta as Corsair in the MCU. Corvolta. Hashtag Corvolta. Can you imagine? Oh my God. That would be so funny.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I really hope they don't, but I now do just for Anthony. Corvolta. Images of their most primal fears and hatreds? It's not easy for me to read this one. I need to get readers here. Images of their most primal fears and hatreds are ripped from their deepest subconscious to be twisted and reshaped to make them even more hideous before finally being unleashed under such an onslaught. Hey, that should be a character. Even the strongest of minds would quickly go insane. The sigh scream worked perfectly. The two of them are helpless. I would have preferred a true test of my abilities, but I have worked too long, too hard. There is much at stake to risk a fair fight. So she swoops down and knocks them both over. Maybe her arms would have been broken, but she's tough. She flew right through those.
She's the best word, the airy.
That's right. I do you honor, Corsair, for you and your companion are among the first to fall before the new Empress of the Shi'ar, Deathbird.
Beautiful, Scotty. Right on target. You knocked her for the proverbial loop.
Corsair and Storm are in deadly peril. We must aid them, Cyclops, before it is too late. Force bolt fired from the youth's eyes. Stun me, I'm falling.
Leave the ladybird to me, guys. I can use the workout. Don't let that snappy patter or your exalted status as an Avenger go to your head, Greer. You read about Deathbird in the Avengers files. Conveniently, of course. She's a very tough cookie. When she busted out of jail not long ago, she nearly tore the place apart.
So her last name is Greer. Or is it her first name? Actually?
No, it's her first. Greer Grant Nelson.
Right. Is her name. Wow. When did you look that up?
It's right there in the yellow box.
Oh, yeah, sir. Thank you.
Howdy doody, Flag Out. I'm Tigra, new hero on the block. I'm your basic cat by nature, and you'll never guess what we do to canaries.
I neither know nor care, hatchling. But if that is a threat, it is a hollow one.
Yikes. She's fast and strong. And each time I connect, I feel like I'm slugging granite.
You have courage, Tigra, but you are a fool to confront me in my element, so far away from your own.
Whoops. Nice try, Ladybird. But speaking as one of the world's premier gymnasts, I don't snuff that easily.
But so what I was going to say was, again, this is going back a little bit to what I was saying about the Avengers and the team books and things, is that, the Avengers banter when they fight, at least in this period and what we've encountered, it's always so like jokey, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing over there, villain? You can't make us heroes look bad or whatever it is. I'm the new hero on the block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the X-Men just don't do that. Kitty does it a little bit, but she's young. They let her do it. The rest, but they do, like Storm, Colossus, they do not banter. Nightcrawler,
No, they do not.
Wolverine just wants the gut. He doesn't banter as much as he threatens.
Sure.
So I just find it's just such a sea change from the tone that we get with X-Men books when they are in combat, is that the Avengers always, like when Beast is with the event, like he always has a quip.
Right.
And it's just such a different tone.
Agreed. Anthony says, I know that she kind of looks like a purple vulture here, but I'm a fan of this design of Deathbird. So am I. Just pretty cool. Pretty cool. Most impressive for a final performance. With practice ease, Deathbird unclips a pair of javelins from her gauntlets and extends them to full size. My energy javelins will leave nothing left of the lot of you, save ashes.
Professor,
She kind of taps them together, and it creates a cool bolt.
look out! Oof!
Colossus! Skang!
And now we have an interlude.
with Gary and
Gary,
I wish they had names. That
and
would have been
Philip.
so much better.
Yow.
Yow.
That'll teach. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you.
That'll teach someone where not to park.
That someone is me, lady.
Brenda?
And those freaks are gonna pay for what they did. I'm calling the cops.
The police won't be able to cope with Deathbird's advanced weaponry. And she isn't alone either. Storm and Corsair were fired on by a sniper hidden inside the IBM construction site.
Interesting reference, very timely.
Mhm.
Deathbird must be disarmed, Cyclops, before she injures any innocent bystanders, and to allow me an opportunity to heal our stricken friends.
No problem, Professor. I'm trying to KO her as well. But she's as tough as Wolverine. I've hit her twice hard and only stunned her. I daren't use any more power. My optic blast at anywhere near full strength probably kill her.
Do it. Kill her. What's a grubber?
Grubber, that's maybe the same thing as a freebooter. I don't know.
The grubber's force beams hurt me. Now, if the force beams belong to the grubber,
Yes.
then there should be an apostrophe after that S. If the word is plural. Like, anyway. Is it basically like he's some sort of worm? You know what I mean? Like a grub?
Oh. Okay, so you want to know what grubber is?
Yes, please.
Okay. A grubber is a term which was sometimes used in Victorian England, thank you, Claremont, to describe people who scavenged in drains for a living.
Oh my god. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, like, okay. So he's a grubber.
He's a grubber.
Speaking of grubbers, Graydon James made it
After
for a few
scavenging,
good times.
after spending the early part of his night scavenging in drains.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Grubber Graydon. There you
Grubber.
go. Hey Graydon, man, how you doing? Hope you're
The
well.
Grubbers. There's a band name for you.
Yes,
The
definitely.
Grubbers.
Or the Grubber's Force.
Sure.
The grubber's force beams hurt me. I need time to recover my wits, and a battleground where my foes are at a disadvantage.
Missed. She's ducking into the building. Flush her out, Wolverine, but watch yourself. She isn't alone.
Like, I'm into that. I want to see pages and pages of Wolverine sneak around in this construction site, flushing out Deathbird.
The more the merrier, pal. Hey, Tigra, you want to learn how to live dangerously? Tag along.
Meanwhile, oblivious of the conflict raging about them, Storm and Corsair are engaged in a private war of their own, waged with all the ruthless ferocity the human heart and soul are capable of, dangling participle. Left unchecked, their fight would not end until one or both of them lay dead. The X-Men, however, don't intend to let things come to that.
Storm, do not fight me. I'm your friend. Hold her, Colossus. I have Corsair.
You! I've waited, prayed for this moment, Decken. As you killed my wife years ago, I'll kill you!
Corsair, no. He thinks I'm the Shi'ar Emperor.
Dude.
I could hurl him off with an optic blast. But I don't want to hurt him. I can't.
And you shall not, Cyclops. An energy beam was used to warp Storm and Corsair's perceptions. Now that I have isolated its component elements, I can use my own mental abilities to counteract it. To those watching, the cure seems instantaneous.
Only Xavier and the two he saved know how fierce his struggle was, how slim his margin of victory. What? Who? Scott.
Remind me never to make you mad, Corsair. You play for keeps.
I almost... Oh, no. Oh, Scott. I'm so sorry. Perhaps your feelings about me are justified.
And perhaps I passed judgment before all the evidence was in. This wasn't your fault. One of Deathbird's flunkies fired a ray that made you and Storm crazy.
Deathbird? She's part of the reason I came to Earth. The Starjammers learned that she's a guiding force behind the rebellion against Lalandra. If she's here, Lalandra can't be far away. As he turns his glove guns into guns. It's like kind of cool, like draw your pistols, but they're like transmute from the shapes of his gloves onto his hand, into his hand.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's like bloop. I like that. Whoever this Deathbird is, she has much to answer for.
Storm, Corsair, wait! I have a plan.
At that moment, high above the street,
The crippled mammal is a telepath and the leader of Deathbird's foes, judging from their treatment of him. It will be fascinating to observe the effect my size scream will have on such a finely tuned aware mind. Eh? Who?
The name's Wolverine, sucker. You want Charlie? You have to take me first.
with a contemptuous snarl, Skirkle, the Brood Urkel. Skirkle, warrior prime of the Brood, attacks. The fight is as one-sided as it is brief. I think Wolverine chopped his head off.
I think so.
Yeah.
I want to see more Wolverine going through aliens like this.
Okay. Chris, I have an idea for you.
Okay, sure.
Keep reading X-Men comics.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Cool. Unfortunately, Skirkle does not act alone. Storm has no chance to evade the tangle web as it explodes around her, enveloping her in its clinging, constricting strands. Though snared, she does not fall, for her mind controls the winds that keep her aloft, and it is unimpaired. But then the web begins to tighten. I wish we had seen like a silhouette of Wolverine cutting that guy's head off.
Right.
Or a shadow or something. Just one more. Like, I love that Wolverine got in there and sliced it open. Nearby, another sniper enters the fray. His target is Xavier. Once more, Colossus shields the professor with his nigh invulnerable armored body. It's an instinctive reaction and a costly one.
I've been hit by some form of bomb. Professor, my clothes, my body, I am burning.
Cyclops, that shell was filled with acid. I cannot halt the acid's progress, but my psi powers can at least neutralize the pain it causes.
2 shots, 2 X-Men. Deathbird's goons are good. Tigra, dive for Storm. Swing her towards Wolverine. As good as done, Psych. That saves her. Who's going to save me?
Stick around, Hotshot. You'll find out. Storm, darling. Don't you move a flamin' muscle. I'm free. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. Snag the lady cat, babe. I'll handle the snipers.
Phew. For a moment there, I was beginning to get worried.
As was I, Tigra, a few moments ago. Thank you for my life. Colossus! That smoke! Is he on fire?
It's acid. I thought nothing could penetrate Colossus' armor. That stuff's eating straight through him.
My God.
I fear my good fortune is at an end, Wind Rider.
Nonsense. A lightning bolt flares from one hand, a monsoon downpour from the other. The former to vaporize the acid and the latter to wash it away and cleanse the wounds.
I am a goddess of life, little brother, as well as of storms. Remember? If it is within my power to save you, I shall.
I should not have doubted you. Easy, fella. You've been through a lot. And have endured, Tovarish. As soon as I recover my strength, we shall. Nothing doing, Colossus. The scrap's over for you. Stay with the professor and take care of him. The rest of us will clean out Deathbird's nest.
Like that, seeing Colossus down to one knee and his chest cavity like melting away.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I've
always wondered, like, is he a shell or he's organic steel, like all the way through. So he looks like a dented piece of metal. It's really pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile,
I'm impressed, bub. You are not only the ugliest suckers I've ever laid eyes on, but you fight better than anything I've ever met. And I'm a man who values a good roughhouse.
Fool, defeat one of us. Defeat 1,000, the brood will still triumph.
Wanna bet?
blessed goddess, what is that?
Beats me, darling. But it ain't human, and it ain't nice. It claims to belong to some outfit called the Brood, and it's hooked up with Deathbird.
Wolverine, it's disintegrating.
Yeah, they do that. Tidy buggers, aren't they? This was the last of the snipers, psych. Their scent's strongest toward the basement. I'll lay odds. That's their hideout. Just before Storm got zapped, I spotted Corsair heading that way.
Who are these scaly horrors?
They're not from any part of the Shi'ar Empire, or any part of known space. How did Deathbird come to ally herself with them? What do they want?
That hatchway makes a superb defensive position. There's no way I can breach it without reinforcements. And he just asks like all the questions that we want to know too, right? Like now there's this new alien thing going on and we want to know absolutely everything about them. And I think everyone hopes they're going to be a bigger part of the X-Men moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And virtually on cue.
Have a good time, Pop.
No complaints. What kept you?
Traffic. What else?
Scott, when you called me Pop, you want to have a catch?
It
didn't sound.
Toss the old baseball around, Scott.
It didn't sound like a joke or an insult.
It wasn't. I don't know you well enough to hate you or love you. I don't know you at all. I'd like to learn.
Fair enough. Come on, Sonny. Let's rescue the Empress. Pew, pew, pew. A whole panel of them all with guns and doing stuff. Sonny and Pops. It feels like, Claremont is 90 years old and thinks people speak this way. Yeah. Neither Defenders nor Hatch last for very long. But when the dust settles and our heroes charge forward, stand your ground, grubbers, or the old man dies.
Deathbird with the professor.
We left Colossus to protect him. What could have happened? Dude, his chest is melted.
It's melted. She must be inhibiting his psi powers, or to have used them by now. Her talons are at his throat. I dared not try an optic blast. We've done if you ask, Deathbird. Let him go.
Your loyalty is as commendable as your courage, Cyclops.
Graydon says, how many times have we said that to our kids? Called him Sonny, or I think he's making the joke. Let's go save the Empress. We've all said it to our children. But yeah, calling our sons Sonny. Because we all have sons that are the same age, by the way. Almost. That will make a fitting epitaph. The explosion of Deathbird's javelin is followed almost immediately by a thunderous roar that shakes Manhattan Island to its foundations. We have to go to the bottom of the panel now. That looks like a Kryptonian ship, eh? Like it reminds me of Superman. And is heard and felt throughout the entire New York metropolitan area as a gleaming starship boosts skyward
from the corner of Madison and 57th Street. The ship had grown within the building, its construction masked by the structure that housed it, kept secret by sophisticated psychic defenses, plus an occasional accidental death. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The launch is impressive, but no less so is its aftermath, as 60 stories of glass, granite, concrete, and steel come crashing down. And at the bottom of that incredible mountain of debris,
I know I'm supposed to have 9 lives, but I wish there were an easier way of proving it. I thought Deathbird had us cold.
I almost wish you hadn't, Scott. Oh, no. Sorry.
Oh. I managed to parry her spear with an optic blast.
I almost wish you hadn't, Scott. I would rather face a quick, clean death than be entombed alive. I've known this terror since childhood. I fear it will never leave me. Want me to pop my claws and start cutting an exit, psych?
No need. I have a better idea. Boom.
What a mess. One of the X-Men's hallmarks, according to Angel, is that you can generally see where we've been.
Colossus? Can you hear me? Are you all right? Colossus! Fan out, people. Wolverine, try to pinpoint his scent. I don't like this. Deathbird could have snatched Charles without a fight. Despite his wounds, Colossus would have gone after her and been among the first to try to dig us out, if he was able.
There he is!
Colossus? Peter? Someone call an ambulance!
If one wasn't already here, psych, it wouldn't make a difference. If he was in the best hospital in the world, with the best doctors, it wouldn't do any good. You'll be missed, Petey. And you'll be avenged! Shoot, I hate to make matters worse, boss, but we got company.
No false moves, ladies and gentlemen. You're under arrest.
Like, next issue, Star Chase.
Star Chase. I love how, I mean, they don't give it a lot of time because the issue's at the end. But like Wolverine's like, well, that's it. He's dead. You'll be avenged. Like, you know, like they're all freaking out. And he's, yep, well, it happens.
So, you know, this second last panel and the last panel, that's the cover of the issue.
Right.
That's pretty crazy that they're going to go that far with, like, the issue ends with, obviously, with Colossus's death, and we kind of knew the whole time that he was going to die in some rubble, which actually maybe it's not a bad thing because there's like that sense of impending doom. Comment again about this 2-page spread. Just the balance of colors is really nice. The multitude of greens being used, greens and blues on that spaceship. And throughout the backgrounds and accents of the page, it's just there's a little bit of everything on there, and it feels like a really classic Marvel comic in that it just it's colorful but clear, like a really clear issue. I thought this was like maybe Cockrum's not necessarily best as a penciler, but it was really just a well-paced kind of fun read, a fun romp.
Totally agree.
And I actually really want to read the next issue.
Yeah, totally agree. I think this is a great issue. A lot of fun, paced really well. And they work as a team really well. Like that whole thing, you know, Wolverine try to find his scent. You want me to cut ourselves? No, I got this. Like it's all like click, 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 click. Like field team leadership. I really when it flows like that and it works really well, it brings it so much to the book.
Just to note, with us reading and the time and all, we took 30 minutes to get started.
We did,
and we got through that issue in an hour. For us, that's fast. And there was a lot to read. Like we read everything. We read this one page to page or cover to cover, which we often don't. But maybe there was less back matter to discuss. But this was I thought this was a very entertaining issue. I'm glad we read it.
Totally. I think that's it. I think like entertaining is the word. It was a blast. And again, we haven't said that about many of this particular part of the run. So it gets me excited for like what's coming next. And again, as I mentioned in the preamble, like this one feels and the last one feels like it's a new arc or it's a continuous storyline that I want to see through. It's not like a stop start. Oh, and then the villain of the week shows up next week.
A quick note about the Brood. The Brood are a Dave Cockrum creation. He needs to create there needs to be like a sidekick for Deathbird, and so he decided to mix a particular insect, or no, the alien from Aliens,
Sure.
and a dinosaur called the Chasmosaurus. A Chasmosaurus is in the Triceratops. It's a ceratopsian. It has a relatively, upside down triangle frill, bony frill in the back of its skull. And so it's sort of a mix between those two things and quite insectoid with its legs out to the side. But it's a really an effective one and plays the role. I mean, do you know where this is going with the Brood? Do you know anything about
I
them?
know they become like a primary antagonist, but I don't know what the actual context is.
Sure. So they're gonna basically be a thing that they're like an aliens threat that you got to watch out for, and
which is great. They can go through them, right? Like
yeah. And they take host bodies. So
I didn't know that either. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's some really fun stuff coming down the way. And then talking Marvel Legends, like that'd be a fun set. Like you get a 2-pack of like Brood drones, and then build like the mother the larger. That would be a really fun one to do, and it's a little bit niche, but they do some pretty deep characters. They just unveiled Egghead today, so they do some deep characters, deep cuts.
Deep cuts, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's get some Brood going here in Marvel Legends. What do you think?
There is one, isn't
Corsair. I don't know of any Brood. There could have been one in the Toy Biz days.
Maybe,
but since Hasbro has had the license, they have not made a Brood. And even if they did, they're due for an update. I mean, everything is fair game right now. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I can't wait to read the next one. Did you read ahead, by the way?
No, I have not read ahead yet.
Okay.
I never do.
I know you're a disciplined guy. Yeah, all good. So we can call it. There's something else you want to discuss?
No, I think we're good.
Excellent. A timely issues to be doing as the current X team is about to face the Brood. What?
Okay.
What? Thank you, Anthony. I'm very curious. All right, then. Thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed issue 155 of Uncanny X-Men. And, of course, please click like and subscribe to the channel if you can. Share it with anyone who you think would be interested. We really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And we have some nice plans for the channel going down the future, down the road. Some fun things coming. Lots of fun comic books coming your way. And I can't wait to read some more X-Men. So that's really cool. You can find us, of course, at group7comics.ca. That's the number 7. You can find Chris over there at Chris Sanagan on all the socials. You can find me at Jason Lapidus Art on Instagram, and otherwise at Jason Lapidus on other socials, and at Group of 7 Comics on everything.
And as we mentioned in the beginning, all those socials have those information, those links to vote for Group of 7 Comics number 8 for Best Comic Book at the 2022 Sequential Magazine Awards, plus the link to that Kickstarter card creative vision campaign we are part of with the Raid Studio, which was funded, and now we're in stretch goals territory. All those links are there as well. I want to say shout out to one new subscriber we have, Scary Gary SG1. I don't know if it's Stargate. I don't know what that is, but I hope it is Stargate.
I love it. Scary Gary.
Scary Gary. Appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it going. It's excellent. Everyone, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And I hope you get the chance to read more X-Men comics, because I am going to keep reading X-Men comics. I'm loving it. David says he voted for us. Don't tell Fred and Ricky. we won't. Don't worry. But thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening and a good week. Thank you.